I am delighted to join you in the beautiful historic city of Leipzig at this year's International Transport Forum. I want to thank our hosts, the Turkish minister, for arranging this and all of the work that you did to make this so successful, and to the mayor, Mary Young. Please help me thank Mr. Minister for all of the work that you did to make this such a success. Would you help me thank the minister? And to the German minister who was good enough to host us at dinner last evening. We had a very, very engaging conversation, not agreeing on everything, but on the majority of things. So thank you for your hospitality and your welcome, and also to Mr. Short for all of your work over a long period of time to make this such an important international conference. This is one of the most well-attended, I'm told, although it's my first meeting, and I think it's because it's an opportunity for people to come together and meet one another and talk with one another and share ideas. As you know, we're facing a number of serious challenges around the world. For instance, the global credit crunch makes it difficult for all of us to sustain our investments in the transport infrastructure that we depend on to move people and goods around the world. Piracy on the high seas threatens to disrupt our access to international shipping channels. And our nations face an urgent need to reduce our dependence on oil and find sustainable alternative energy sources that will contribute to a cleaner environment. Working together as sovereign nations, we can go a long way towards solving these problems. I believe the way forward is through cooperative agreements on research and technology, mutually enforced standards to enhance security and environmental practices in the global supply chain, effective guidance and training to help the maritime industry combat piracy, and a continuing commitment to opening our borders to free trade. This is very important. This is only the beginning. Achieving these goals will not be easy, and we will not agree on everything. But we are interdependent, now more than ever. Our economic ups and downs ripple across the continents. Our decisions on energy policy and fuel efficiency affect market prices for oil and the rate of climate change. As President Obama said recently, the history of a nation, quote, is not about things coming easy, it's about rising to the moment when the moment is hard, converting crisis into opportunity, and seeing to it that we emerge from whatever trials we face stronger than we were before. End of quote. I believe all of us here today share this commitment, and this forum is an excellent place to carry on this work. In the United States, we are responding to our challenges with short and long-term strategies to ensure that our transport systems continue to play a vital role in our economic development at home and our participation in international trade abroad. The American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, which President Obama signed into law 3 months ago, is a groundbreaking $787 billion effort to stimulate the U.S. economy through targeted short-term investments in infrastructure, energy, tax relief, and other vital areas. The Recovery Act awarded $48 billion to the U.S. Department of Transportation for new investments in roads, bridges, transit systems, seaports, airports, and other critical infrastructure. To provide some perspectives, this is like managing almost 2 years' worth of federal transportation programs all at once. This is a remarkable, historic effort, and we're managing it with great efficiency. The Department of Transportation has made more money available to states more quickly than any of our routine programs normally do. In some cases, we're moving funds at nearly twice the rate we would otherwise. How have we accomplished this? First, we prepared ahead of time. Even before the recovery legislation was passed, I met with state transportation leaders and told them to prioritize a list of projects that were ready to go for bids. Many states had a backlog of projects which were simply waiting for additional funding. We told them, be ready to move quickly. Fortunately, we have had very good relationships with the states and other stakeholders for many, many years. This helped us achieve the level of cooperation we needed. Second, at the outset, I created a new team of senior officials within our department with expertise in budgeting, planning, operations, and other key areas representing all the modes of transportation. I asked this team to develop reporting standards to accurately track the money as it is spent and ensure that all accountability requirements are met. This is very important to the President. Transparency and accountability. We developed a website. I encourage you to go to that website, recovery.gov. If you do, you will see how our money is being spent, state by state, no earmarks, no boondoggles, no sweetheart deals in America on this plan, all done by the book and all very transparent. And third, we have an extremely capable, dedicated workforce that has worked very, very hard to reach out to our customers around the country and make this program a success. The professional people at the Department of Transportation have done the hard work to help us get this money out the door. And as a result of our efforts, the Recovery Act has so far succeeded in pumping nearly $13 billion in transportation funding directly into our economy, with billions more to follow. These federal funds allow all 50 states to make much-needed repairs and upgrades to roads, bridges, transit systems, port facilities, airport runways, and more. A portion of the funds support cleaner, greener transit vehicles that reduce greenhouse gas emissions. These are investments that most states simply cannot afford to make on their own due to very short budgets. So, the federal government in the US of A is truly stimulating local economies and saving or creating thousands of good-paying jobs for Americans. And many of these jobs are green jobs. For example, a company that makes buses that run on alternative fuels is hiring workers thanks to new orders from public transit operators receiving stimulus money. The Recovery Act also breaks new ground for America in the area of high-speed and passenger rail. President Obama personally has committed more than $8 billion to new and revitalized passenger rail corridors across America. This is by far the largest single federal investment in passenger rail in the history of America. It's 8 billion times more money than we've ever had at the Department of Transportation for high-speed rail. This is a down payment on a new effort by the United States to make passenger rail a vital link in our public transportation network. It will bring cities closer together, relieve congestion on our highways, and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. After riding the TGV earlier this week from Paris to Strasbourg, I am more convinced than ever that the USA must look to passenger rail as a way to foster more convenient and efficient intermodal connections. I was very impressed by the intermodal links on the Strasbourg end of the TGV. It's an excellent model for the United States to consider as we pursue our own long-term strategies and investments in public transportation. I would like to mention also that we have a creative way in the $48 billion, it's called discretionary money. $1.5 billion will be available from the Department of Transportation for projects of a national significance, creative intermodal opportunities that I, as the Secretary, and our department will make available around America, again, to create opportunities that will set a national standard for national models of intermodality. 1.5 billion discretionary. Fortunately, it appears that many Americans are ready to leave their cars at home and take more public transportation, including passenger rail. Looking ahead, we recognize that the U.S. must do even more to develop a diverse, environmentally sustainable, multimodal transportation network to keep our economy moving and make our communities more livable. This is a very high priority for President Obama's administration. Livable communities, we call it. Enabling people, if they want to bike to work, walk to work, take a bus to work, take a light rail to work, they don't always have to take their automobile. And we know that in Europe, you all have made that happen. We'd like to replicate that in America. There's a place in America, Portland, Oregon, where they're using streetcars now for people to get around their community. These streetcars are manufactured in Portland. This is the concept, this is the idea of livable communities that we think will fit in some large cities, but also in other cities across America. The President recently announced plans to substantially reduce greenhouse gas emissions and raise fuel economy standards for passenger cars and light-duty trucks beginning in model year 2012. And the President also announced an agreement between our department and the Department of EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency. We have reached an agreement that a new standard will be set by 2016 so that every automobile in America will get 35 miles per gallon. This is an extraordinary agreement between our department and the Department of EPA. It's a serious push to make transportation much cleaner and greener in the United States. In the freight rail industry, we're in the process of developing new national freight transportation corridors that will help us make better use of trucks, barges, and rails across North America. This integrated approach will reduce congestion on our crowded freight rail lines, take more trucks off the highway, and make better use of underused coastal waterways that have a low environmental impact. We're also expediting critical port development projects to help freight flow more easily, and we're investing $100 million to enhance small shipyards under the Recovery Act. As we do our part, I'm encouraged by the cooperative, multilateral efforts underway by both industry and government to address our shared environmental concerns, especially in Baltic water management and air emissions. I hope we continue to make progress in these areas. Another area we must tackle together is the worldwide shortage of skilled seafarers. We must find ways to grow this profession, to keep our maritime industry strong. In aviation, our top priority, our #1 priority at FAA is the Next-Gen program, which will modernize and transform our air traffic control system for the 21st century. Long overdue. I'm prepared to expedite this effort as much as possible. Next-Gen is needed to make aviation safer, more efficient, and more environmentally sustainable. Ambitious energy goals to reduce emissions and noise pollution are a major part of this effort. But as we know, our environmental issues do not stop at our borders. That is why it's good to see that the European community has made progress on CSER, the counterpart to Next-Gen. We still have work to do to harmonize these systems and their goals. I must emphasize that the best way to find workable solutions is by working together, and obviously that is what this meeting is about. We are working with ICAO to develop international consensus, and we look forward to continuing this effort with all of our partners. I also know we have some complex issues to resolve in aviation, such as the inspection of foreign repair stations and foreign ownership of airlines. We're open to a healthy debate on these issues. We'll listen to all sides and work with Congress to achieve a fair solution. In the end, we must all work together, not only to secure a brighter future for our children and grandchildren, but to help developing nations make the right choices as well. Fast-growing nations such as China and India are major sources of emissions, and while both countries have made enormous investments in public transportation, their cities, like many of ours, are still choking on auto and truck traffic. The United States, Europe, Asia must set an example by fighting climate change effectively and setting the pace for leadership and innovation in all modes of transportation. In closing, I am encouraged by the many excellent presentations we've heard today already and we will hear. I look forward to learning more about our common interests and challenges. Leipzig is home to one of the oldest and most important trade fairs in Europe, dating back to the Middle Ages. For centuries, men and women have traveled here by foot, by cart, by bicycle, and by car and truck to buy and sell all types of merchandise. Such activity not only keeps local economies healthy, it also keeps villages, cities, and entire countries connected. I want you to know that you will have a full partner with the United States in these issues as we move forward. And even though we're facing tough times, if we work together and talk together, we will solve these problems together. We're Americans, but we're also a part of the world community. And as the world community, we will solve these big issues on behalf of the people that expect us to do this. So I look forward to working with all of you. Even though this is my first visit, it won't be my last, and you will have a full partner as we move forward to solve these important problems. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be with you and to have a chance to make this address to all of you. Thank you.
Back for one brief question. I'm bringing Secretary LaHood back because I do have one brief question. Many people here in Europe are thinking that Obama's America is going to look a whole lot more like Europe. And you mentioned a few things that sound like you're on the way: high-speed rail, fuel economy standards, biking. Those are all big steps. But if the U.S. were really to start looking like Europe, it would want to have a nice, meaty fuel tax. Do you think it's something that could ever happen in the U.S.? Maybe not in a downturn, but is it on the horizon ever?
Well, I mean, we do have a fuel tax, and we have the gas tax that people pay, which is over a long period of time in our country help us build a state-of-the-art interstate system in America. We're the model for the interstate. People come to America to look at our interstate system. 2 decades from now, hopefully, we'll be the model for high-speed rail. But in a very, very hard economic time in America, look, there are many people out of work. We are suffering a very hard time in America. But people have confidence in President Obama. They have confidence in his leadership. They have confidence that he is leading us in a way that will get us out of this very hard time. We have many of our friends and neighbors who are out of work. The last thing that you can say to your friends and neighbors when they're out of work and suffering under very hard economic times is that you're going to raise taxes. And so President Obama is not going to raise taxes. He's not going to raise gasoline taxes. We're going to try and think creatively, do the things we want to do, but not by taxing our people in very hard economic times. Only one question?
That's it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.